tight. Are you enjoying that action?
I am enjoying the multiple wobbly action going on here.
Oh, the ride height sensor.
Yeah, I know. It's just precision and yet incredibly cheap to make. I like
Precision engineering is a beautiful thing.
Isn't it?
As well you know.
I do.
Because you're an engineer. How did you get started in engineering?
Well,
Did you think, like, when you were a little kid, do you think, oh, I want to be an engineer when I grow up?
Interestingly enough, no, not at all.
What did you want to be? Like when you were like 5 or 6, what did you want to
I am going to disappoint you and say I still haven't worked out what I want to be. So I've never had this burning, I want to be one of these. It was something I sort of fell into. You see, both of my parents were medical.
Yeah.
Both of their fathers were engineers.
Oh, really?
And going through school, I never remember thinking about being anything other than a doctor or an engineer. I mean, it's not like I thought about what it is I want to do. It was just, if I look back, I always knew I was going to be, I'd have to decide whether I was going to be a doctor or an engineer at some point in time. And I'd have to pick my A-levels at some point in time to make that decision.
Interesting.
So I started my A-levels doing maths, physics, chemistry, biology, because that allowed me to do either until I got later.
So you went into engineering due to a complete lack of imagination?
If you like, yes. But I look back, and I've given that I always knew I was going to be a doctor or an engineer, and now I sometimes could have been something else. But I remember there were some critical decisions went into, the sort of giving up of biology in the sixth form so that I distinctly had the A-levels that would suit engineering rather than medicine. Yeah. So there were some particular factors. One was that I loved taking things apart to see how they worked.
I've noticed that.
But was particularly poor at putting them back together again to make them work.
I've noticed that as well.
Which I thought wasn't such a good quality for a doctor.
Ah.
Amongst other things, you see. And I always tend to have, as you must know, there's always bits left over.
Yeah.
Which again is frowned upon, I feel, in the medical profession.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you see. And also, at that age, I just didn't really care about people enough. I wasn't a people person.
Not a people person?
No, I wasn't a people person. I like things more than people, and so I thought I'd do engineering. Which as I've got older, and as I've had I look at, say, how my father was, who again, when he grew up in India, and he would have done a professional background, so he would have gone into engineering or medicine because they were the sensible grown-up professions to do. And he did medicine, but he could easily have gone the other way. His father was an engineer. But I look at my father, and I absolutely see that he is not an engineer. I'm an engineer in the way that he is not. Doesn't want to know how things work, but he wants to know how to make things better. And I am not a doctor in the way that he's really good at being a doctor. So as it's turned out, it's correct, but kind of by accident. What about you? How did you end up being an engineer?
Well, when I was little, I thought about all sorts of different things. At one point, I thought I'd be a clothes designer.
Really?
Yeah, because I like the sort of shapes of things.
Of people?
Anything.
Okay.
And the whole design side of things, the crayon and pencil side of design. I've always been into that. But my family were all electrical engineers, and so I became a mechanic.
Obviously.
Which kind of disappointed them a bit.
Was that out of some kind of resistance to doing what they'd done?
Well, no, what happens, I went through, I didn't do well at school because I'm slightly Aspergic, well, I'm very Aspergic.
Aren't we all?
And dyslexic. And I really struggled. School did not work for me at all. So then I put myself through O-levels, as it was back then. And then did a diploma in engineering, which was really good. Now, a bit mechanical, bit electrical. And then I went to university, and at that point, I decided I wanted to do robotics. I was mad on robots.
Okay.
Machines that do things, and you can see movement.
Which is a bit of every kind of engineering.
It is. And I thought I might get into making prosthetic limbs and things like that, which I was really fascinated by at the time. And then I bought a car.
Oh.
And as I was a poor student, I hadn't got much money. It was 50 quid.
And so you had to work on it?
Yes, absolutely. This was back in 85, I think it was. And it was a Mark 1 Cavalier, the Opel Manta-shaped ones.
I remember.
And the engine was in 3 cardboard boxes in the boot, along with remnants.
Should it not have been in the front?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It had blown up some time before. They'd had a go at putting it together and got it wrong.
I think I've seen that Manta.
Given up and left it in a barn where chickens lived in it for a year, and then I bought it.
Obviously.
So I bought a 50 quid car that was broken and a Haynes manual and taught myself how to build engines.
This is while you were doing your degree?
Yeah.
So obviously you became a mechanical type person.
So then in my final year project, I made a self-mapping engine management unit, which was terrible. And then learned how to do it properly later on. But
yeah, I seem to recall you saying you did so much stuff in your degree, whereas I didn't do mechanical engineering, though I invented automotive. I did electronics. And it's slightly random that after graduating, I ended up working for a car company. I could quite easily have ended up working for an electronics company if they'd actually wanted to give me work, which they didn't.
But you've always been mad on cars, though, haven't you?
I have. Mid-school time, I was model trained when I was little. I didn't have many brothers or sisters, so I ended up with hobbies that were quite good at being on my own, you see. So I had model trains.
Right.
And I seem to remember building a ridiculous model train mountain that shouldn't have existed. It clearly shouldn't have been possible, but and occasionally there was slightly too much gradient and a coupling would oncome, and you get this carriage that go and fire itself down the stairs. So again, dangerous projects, but not too dangerous at that stage. And then I got into radio control cars. And normal people go into little radio control cars. And I went directly to the internal combustion 8th scale radio control car.
Really?
Yeah.
The monster of things.
Of course, not actually having the means to go anywhere or do anything with them. So, and that inevitably led to cars. But I do remember, I think in sixth form, there was a point at which I quite fancied doing product design.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember my father saying to me, well, what's product design? What is it, And I found myself thinking, I don't really know. I know what engineering is. I don't really know. And bizarrely, years later, when I look at what I like doing, it would have been product design. But I didn't know about it, and there was no school-type people to investigate what I was good at, and because there were easy options for me to do, clothes designer.
Yeah.
Oh, you would have made a good clothes designer, perhaps.
But I'm thinking about my son now, because he's 10. I'm thinking, what advice could I give him? And I'm thinking, should he become an engineer? Or should he actually get into a trade where he'll earn some money? It's a tricky one.
Or meet people.
People?
Maybe you could do media.
No one should do media.
No?
No.
Right, well, your son's world is going to be full of exciting opportunities.
I hope so.
All right, then. Let's get on with this. I'm going to go play fiddle.
Well, stop fiddling.
No, I like it. Yeah, I told you. Can I see if it comes apart?
Already.
I don't have to put it back together again if I break it, do I?
Yeah, you do.
Do I? Oh, I better leave it alone.